So I'm glad. I want to welcome everyone for coming out to the Credit Suisse Bank today to listen to my speech. Uh, I know we've had a pretty bad heat wave, and I want to thank you all for coming out. I would like to say to all of you that I think that all of you have greatness inside of you. My speech is based on the chapter that I'm writing. The book is going to be out in a couple of days in the personal development book, The Change book. And I'm writing a book with one of Tony Robbins' first coach in business. And my speech is going to be about neuro-linguistic programming. Now, I gave a speech before. This is about a personal development component within NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. And it's called the meta model. I want you all to imagine for a moment if you can get better results for your clients. How would that make you feel? Imagine if you can help them get what they want out of life. How would that make them feel? With the meta model, what we're going to do, we're going to ask certain questions that would get them out of the limiting thoughts that they have. And there's some language patterns that we're going to be talking about today. But just to rehash a little bit about neuro-linguistic programming. Neuro means the mind, linguistic means language, and programming means rewiring the mind. NLP was started by John Grinder and Richard Bandler in the 70s. So let's get started a little bit about how the mind works. The unconscious mind is processing information at a very, very fast pace. And what it will do a lot of times is that it will come up with like a summary or generalizations. And the nervous system, in order to have it, for us to have a coherent experience in life, will make generalizations and summaries. It would take one thing and make it stand universal for everything. And from this nervous system, it organizes it in a coherent whole, and we call that a thought, a model, or a map. So your thoughts and your belief system, in other words, is a map. In NLP, we call it your map of the world. Now you have inside the map, which is your thoughts, what you perceive, and outside of the map, what you cannot perceive. So let me give you an example. People would say that they can't do public speaking, or they can't do sales. And this is sort of the limiting thoughts or beliefs that people have. And what we're going to do with the meta model, we're going to challenge those limited beliefs so that the person will have more possibilities in life. You know, they could start a business and do sales and do very well, or get up and speak, which is what Toastmasters is for. So let's go on to the first language pattern. It's the presupposition. Now, presupposition is what people will assume things. All language is made up of presuppositions. So let me give you an example in NLP class. The cat sat and the mat. So what can we presuppose? What can we assume to make that sentence make sense? There's an entity called a cat. There's an entity called a mat, and a relationship between the two. There's a relationship between the cat and the mat. It's a very simple sentence, but presupposition is in simple sentences and also in more complex systems. All of language is made of presuppositions. In other words, the person is making assumptions. The next, the next language pattern I could talk to you about is mind reading. And mind reading, every statement someone makes is a claim to knowledge. So, but it's the problem with that is it's relatively uh, specific in relation to the context to which someone is speaking about. They must have a way of knowing. So when someone makes a statement, if someone says that I can't sell, so for example, uh, a mind reading question would be, how do you know? And that would force a person to go back to a frame of reference that's inside of their map of the world, why they can't sell. And they would say things like, "Oh, I did it in high school and I didn't make any money," or something like that. Now, we we have to have a way of tying down that map of the world. And like I said, the mind has a way of the subconscious mind is processing a lot of information. And one thing that it will drop is who said it, when they said it, and under what conditions. So what we want to do, we want to tie down that map of the world. And for example, we, we would want to, if someone said, it's a nice day today, or it's very hot today. Well, who says that it's hot? You know, someone was saying to me the other day about something that she heard about my a manager, you know, in another office. Well, if I was going to tie down that map, well, who said that other thing the, about that manager? In other words, a lot of conclusions that we make is just based on gossip. So we need to tie it down to see where the reality is. So I'd like to give you an example and see if we can tie this whole thing together. I do a lot of networking, and I was at a celebrity event at the World Trump Tower, and there was a lot of celebrities there, models, Victoria's Secret models there, and UN people, and this executive. Talking to the executive, I was actually talking about Toastmasters there, and he's a very successful executive. But he said, Michael, I can't do public speaking. So what can we presuppose from that? You think he ever did any speaking before? So we asked him a mind reading question. Well, how do you know? Well, he says, well, I'm very, very nervous in doing public speaking. Well, that's a little bit different. He can speak. He just doesn't like the way that he feels. Now that's a little different situation. Now, let me ask you: is being nervous, is that any reason for you not to do speaking, especially if you're executive? Now, I remember I said that to John Deisher. I don't know if he remembers this, and I said that to the gentleman. Everyone is nervous. Even Donald Trump is nervous before you speak, at least initially. So I actually gave him the same technique that John. I said, just get a box right here and say your speech out loud every day for, for 30 minutes or an hour. So hopefully that got him that would have motivated him to go out and do a little bit more speaking. So just to sum it up, the way that we think is not the real world. And the mental model allows us to make a shift in someone's consciousness in the way that they think, that it will allow them to do do things that they don't feel that they can do.